The Berlin Board of Education, committed to continuous improvement.
We'll call this meeting to order at, I have 7:13, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have a lengthy agenda today, and I would like to, with any objections from the board, I would like to change the order of the agenda just somewhat. What I would like to do is do the special recognition, then the student presentation, which would be number 3, and then what I would like to do is move item number 6, personnel, so immediately follow the student presentation, and then we'll take a short break. Any objections to that? With that said, we have Berlin Bravos this evening, so Brian, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you. If I could have Principal David Kittman from Griswold School come forward, Assistant Principal Megan Soroyce, and Board Member Richard Roy.
Thank you, Superintendent Benigni, Board of Education members. Thank you for being here tonight. And audience, this is a very fun night for all of us. We have 2 very special people that we'd like to recognize at Griswold School tonight. I think I'd first like to start with Miss Claire Kluge. Claire, can you come on up? Ms. Kluge was hired in 2002 as a grade 4 teacher at Griswold School. She made an immediate positive impact on students and the culture of our building. A parent wrote a letter in support of Ms. Kluge at the end of 2002 that stated, "A breath of fresh air entered these halls when the town hired Claire Kluge. She has inspired my son to perform to his best ability as no other teacher ever has. She is creative, disciplined, kind, caring, amusing, and thoroughly delightful." Had you ever seen that letter? No? It is in your file.
Oh, it is?
In your file, yes.
Okay, maybe I should.
In 2007, her job description changed, but not her passion for students, which remains as strong as it did in 2002, when that parent wrote those words. Claire now splits her time between Griswold and Willard School as our school guidance counselor. Between the 2 schools, she sees 41 students, performs classroom observations, collects student data, attends 504 meetings, facilitates lunch groups, goes into classrooms and teaches social and emotional health lessons. She can constantly be counted on by her colleagues to step in and help out. She is frequently sending out emails to the staff with resources that we never would have found unless Claire was digging through the internet looking for them late at night, which I think you do too often, by the way. You should go to sleep
Well,
sometimes.
when you can't sleep.
One of her colleagues who recommended her for this award tonight, who I'm looking around the room, there are so many Griswold staff here that I'm not sure if Mrs. Sasha was here, but she stated the following: "Claire is more than just a sounding board when it comes to helping students who are struggling. She is compassionate and hardworking. While she spreads her time between 2 schools, she has always been approachable, dependable, and generous with her time and ideas. She goes out of her way to assist teachers with behavior plans, will meet with students one-to-one to support them, and offers teacher guidance and support as they try to help students to be successful in the classroom. It is evident in her actions that Claire really cares about others and is appreciated. We appreciate all you do, Claire. We're certainly lucky to have you. I wish we could clone you and make more of you in the building. But for everything you do, thank you very much for your support."
David, Ms. Kluge, I'd like to add that you remain one of Ben's favorite teachers. And he graduates Saturday.
Okay, now I'm ready. He's graduating?
He graduates Saturday.
Okay, so is that to make me feel old?
To make you feel successful.
All right, thank you.
You remain at the top of his list.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Claire. Okay, and next I'd like to call up Fernando Garaju. Fernando. I must have practiced his last name 100 times out loud. Everyone told me a slightly different way, but Fernando, it is truly an honor to stand up here with you today. You have had such a wonderful journey at Griswold School. Fernando is in 2nd grade in Mr. Silva's classroom. And before I forget, I just want to acknowledge all of the teachers and support staff who are here tonight. Can Griswold staff just raise your hand? Fernando, I want you to look around at all these hands. Fernando. See all these hands? They're all here because they're just as proud of you as Mrs. Royce and I are. Fernando joined us in kindergarten 2 years ago, and he definitely overcame a lot of obstacles. His journey took him away from Griswold for a year, and he returned to us in 2nd grade as a person who has learned to do. Oh, I'm sorry, I lost my spot here. I know. Fernando began kindergarten at Griswold School, but required a different environment to meet his specific needs. While away from us the rest of kindergarten grade 1, he worked hard to improve and build strategies to be successful at school. We're so happy to have Fernando back at Griswold for 2nd grade as a member of Ms. McFarland's SNAP program in Mr. Silva's class. Fernando has thrived in both settings. He has learned that he can't always win, and that it's okay to be disappointed, but we must move on. He has improved his ability to communicate his feelings with words and develop strategies for working through frustrations and completing tasks. Finally, he's demonstrated the ability to maintain a safe body and respect the personal space of others. In Mr. Silva's classroom, Fernando has increased his independence, continues to improve his social skills, and excels during math when solving problems. Mr. Silva also shared that you're excellent with the smart board. Is that true? And that, in short, he said he's just a blast to have in class. Fernando, we're so proud of you and so happy to have you as a member of Griswold School. Shake your hand, buddy.
If I could have Principal Al Sousa, Assistant Principal Carl Watson from Hubbard School, and then the next round. Oh, and Board Member Julia Dennis. Sorry, Julia.
Good evening, everyone. Certainly great to see such a packed room. I'm sure it's for all of the adults that are here. Hubbard School is proud to present 2 Bravo recipients, but first would like to congratulate and honor all the award recipients this evening for such well-deserved honors. Our first Bravo recipient this evening is Ms. Sarah Swanson. Welcome Sarah's family. Sarah is a 5th grade student in Ms. Serena's class who's here this evening. Thank you, Sarah, for being here. And later this month, we'll be honoring some of our artists who had some work displayed at our art show. So in that spirit, Hubbard wanted to look at some of the pieces both inside and outside the classroom, went to our specialist community and our classroom teachers for the Bravo recipients. And Sarah's receiving her award this evening for excellence in both character and performance in physical education. And although she's in 5th grade, this is more of a culmination of her tenure here at Hubbard School. When she was in her primary years, in primary grades, she exhibited exceptional skill and talent in physical fitness activities, but was definitely more shy, reserved to herself. And then the intermediate years came around, and her self-assurance, her confidence grew, and now she is a positive, outgoing force when she walks into that gym, as well as in her classroom. She has a positive impact on everyone around her. Mr. Blasio, who's our physical education teacher, can count on her to be an example, not just for the skills and understandings of sports and activities, but as a great representative for sportsmanship, fair play, being an excellent teammate, and just all-around outstanding effort each and every time she's engaged in any physical fitness activity. Most recently, she scored the highest score of all the 4th and 5th grade students at Hubbard for the, make sure I say this right, the medicine ball put, which I'm assuming is a shot put medicine ball, 23.5 feet. Certainly something I don't think I could touch. So definitely physical prowess as well as application employment, those habits of mind in those activities. I did speak to members of our school community about Sarah, and here are just some of the key adjectives they used in describing her. Athletic, kind, confident, outgoing, respectful, enthusiastic, motivated, determined, talented, and an excellent teammate. Sarah, you're in 5th grade, you'll be leaving us, but your brother is still here, so we'll still have his classes with us. We will miss what you brought, not only to the PE classroom, but to your regular classroom and to the Hubbard School community. Congratulations. Our second award recipient this evening is Mr. Will Balicki. If you haven't figured out already, Will looks tremendous. T-shirt, shorts, pants, whatever. He's an excellent student. I'd like to welcome his family this evening. I'd also like to acknowledge Mrs. Shelby Ryan and Mr. Tim Morley. Will is a 4th grade student in Mr. Morley's class. Again, Will has been honored here tonight for music, not just his performance, but also his character in music. When talking about Will, the things that come to mind: hardworking, dedicated, supportive. Each and every day, Mrs. Ryan can count on him to bring his absolute best in instrumental band. He's the first one to ask his bandmates if they need help and support with anything at all. He wants to make sure everybody is doing well as a group and individually. He's a very caring student. He cares about others, and he cares extremely, to an extreme degree, about his own performance and character. One of the key things that has separated Will is that independent motivation and determination to get better. Many of us have external motivators that kind of drive us to do certain pieces. Will has exhibited this internal drive to get better at his craft, specifically in music. Right now, he plays baritone in the 4th grade band at Hubbard. He has taken it upon himself to learn more difficult pieces of music, to challenge himself, and now he's earned the right to be playing with the 5th grade band in June. So congratulations for that, and driving yourself to be the very best at what you do. He also can be counted on to be a role model in the classroom. He exhibits those habits of mind each and every day and is often looked up to by not only his peers, but the younger classes at Hubbard School. And speaking with our school community about Will, some key adjectives that they mentioned: dedicated, talented, respectful, persistent, kind, helpful, motivated, caring, supportive, and high character. Well, 4th grade, we have you for another year. We have a number of other Balickis that will be with us. So congratulations, thank you for everything you brought, not just to Ms. Ryan's music instrumental class, but to your classroom in Hubbard School. Congratulations.
We'd like a full report on that medicine ball put next week.
Actually, how about a little board competition?
There we go.
Next from Willard School, if I could have Principal Matt Correa, Assistant Principal Meg Royce, and Board Member Carrie Sassy.
Hi everyone, nice to see you. Last but not least, I have the honor of presenting the Bravos from Willard Elementary School. We'll begin with our kindergarten student, Ryan Sindinsky. Ryan, come on up. Adorable, right? Ryan was nominated for this Berlin Bravo from Miss Curran and Miss Flom, your 2 teachers. And as you can see, many of your teachers from Willard School, or Mrs. Sousa, I should say, God, you're in kindergarten still. Many of your teachers came out to support you, Ryan. Ryan is a great candidate for a Berlin Bravo. He comes to school each and every day, ready to learn, excited, and a big smile on his face. He enthusiastically greets all adults as he's walking through the hall. It could be morning, afternoon, but he definitely wants to greet you and let you know that you're important and that he's acknowledged you. He's made a wonderful transition to kindergarten this year. Each day he perseveres through his work. He has a positive attitude, and as a kindergarten student, he has the drive to succeed. He continues to grow in the area of becoming flexible. And this month at Willard, we're focusing on the habit of mind of thinking flexibly, and Ryan is doing a wonderful job, especially as we all know schedules change sometimes. And that's hard for adults. Ryan's doing a fantastic job of acknowledging that and kind of going with the flow. We're really proud of him for that. He's a great role model to his peers, and he consistently demonstrates all aspects of Willard pride. He's kind, he's responsible, respectful, and he always does the right thing, especially when no one's looking, and that's most important. We're so lucky to be able to watch Ryan grow and continue to grow at Willard and become the great learner that he is. So for that, Ryan, we congratulate you. Nice job. As you see, we bring, for those of you who are coming to our Bravos, we bring a lot of students forward who just are outstanding and really stand out. But every now and then, we're lucky enough and fortunate enough to bring a staff member who's made a great amount of change in our building in such a short amount of time. So our next Berlin Bravo recipient is Dawn Niles. Dawn, come on up. Miss Niles, as you can see, a lot of your Willard family came out to support you tonight. We love you. Dawn is currently serving as an instructional para in our math department. Last summer, Karen Schroeder and I had the pleasure of doing the interviews for instructional paraprofessionals, and we had a lot of great candidates come forward. Dawn walked in and blew us away. And she walked out, and Karen and I knew we found the next person to help us support struggling learners at Willard. Each day, Dawn supports students in various grade levels and works closely with them to support individual learning needs. A big part of Dawn's job includes providing Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions to students who need them. During this time, Dawn works with students on foundational skills, fact fluency, and provides instruction to students who need reteaching and small group support. Dawn is keen with data and understands how to collect and use data to support each individual struggling learner. The relationships that Dawn has developed have allowed her to encourage students to invest in making progress and demonstrating success. When working with Dawn, her students want to succeed, they want to please her, and they want to see that wonderful smile that we get to see every day, all day. The staff at Willard School sees Dawn as a colleague, a partner, and a friend. She's always willing to lend support to a staff member in need, substitute in a classroom, even art, and do whatever she can to ensure that everyone at Willard feels supportive. We are truly blessed to have Dawn work with us at Willard School. Meg and I talk about her every day and how she seems to save us when a sub is needed or when we need someone to do something. Dawn comes to the rescue. We're blessed to have her, and we look forward to watching your educational career and your profession grow here in Berlin. Congratulations.
Next up on the agenda, we have a student presentation from Berlin High School.
Thank you. So we're very fortunate at the high school to have a tech integration specialist who assists staff and students with all technology needs and beyond. That's Jen Nero. And I was meeting with Jen the other day for our capstone presentations. Each administrator sits down with the student, reviews their presentation. And she shared with me about the student that you're going to hear from in a moment, John Silva, who's currently a junior at the high school, and the project that he took on at the high school and how it's being used. And I was so impressed with the project that I asked Mrs. Nero if John would be willing to present tonight, and then met with John. And I didn't have to convince him too much. He was willing to come here in front of all these people and share what he's created and what's currently being used by the staff of the high school. So, Mrs. Nero, I don't know if you want to add further about what John did and what John wants to add.
Just John, I've worked with, and through me working with him, I have seen how far he came or has come with programming. It's pretty amazing. I've taught programmers at the high school level for quite a few years in 2 different schools now, and I don't think I've come across any student who's as quick and good at problem solving and making things more efficient and kind of getting to the end goal, but getting there well. And that's what John did, so I'm pretty proud of him. So I'm glad he got the opportunity to come here. So I'm going to let him try to explain some of this, and I'll chime in if he needs it.
So Ms. Nero approached me and as an helper made this school-wide ribbon generator, and her idea was basically to have a Google form where teachers would come, fill it out, and select expectations that they want to rubric based off of their core values and beliefs. And the goal of this was to assist teachers in making the rubrics because they spend a lot of time trying to set up rubrics and create assignments.
The only thing I'll add to that is this is very time consuming for teachers. And it's not necessarily on the learning side of student time consuming. It's making it look good for the grading side and that it's efficient and things like that, but it's not necessarily where a teacher wants to spend their time with formatting and getting everything to fit and things like that.
So, brief overview on how it works. So, the teacher would go on the Google form and they would just fill it out, select everything that they want. And once it's submitted, data goes to a Google Sheet where after it gets to the Google Sheet, it's just a spreadsheet, it creates the rubric from the script, and then it copies the template and fills it in with all the rows that the teacher selected.
Yeah, go.
So, for the Board of Ed members, you guys will have the form in front of you. And to use it, you select the expectation that you want on the rubric. Once you submit that form, you can go to your Gmail and it will have an email with the rubric attached, and you can open the document and edit it as necessary.
Okay, so we'll let some people try it. So there should be a Google form on your screen. If you check off some of the boxes and down at the bottom, click submit. It will take a moment before it goes into the email. I do have another tab open at the top of the screen with the email open. You should see an email come through from me. Now you're all using the same account, so multiple emails are going to come through, so you might happen to open the wrong one, but you'll get the idea. And you should see how easily it kind of comes through. And when it comes through, it looks something like that depending on how many expectations they happen to check off. One of the nice things John did with this is he made it workable with anything. So we could actually, if the math department said, you know what, we have our own expectations and we want to set up rubrics with our expectations specifically to math, or if the elementary schools say, hey, we have our own, we can actually just plug those in and this will work across the board for anyone. And just automatically email and you become the owner, it's in your drive and you can edit it and add to it and do anything you want to it once it's made. So it makes that initial steps. So it's pretty neat, and I have a lot more ideas for John, as I tell him pretty often, trying to get him to work on some more things with some final projects before the year is out, and then hopefully he'll be a tech expert back with me next year. And I'm hoping he'll independent study because he's exhausted the AP opportunities for computer science. So he still has one more year and needs something to do with his time, so I'm hoping to utilize that.
Have John fail a couple classes at the high school?
I'm not sure he'd be okay with that one. But he does great work, so.
So, obviously, we don't, the board chair, Matt, just asked me, are we paying him? No, we're not paying him. But when I met with John, I said, what are you going to do for the summer? Are you going to work? He said, well, my sister works at Dick's, so I thought maybe I'd apply at Dick's. I said, well, John, how would you like to work for the Berlin Public Schools this summer in our IT department? He said, I might like that. And I said, well, I think we'd like to have you. So John is going to work for us in the summer and then continue during the year. Thank you very much, Senator, for sharing. That was great. Thank you both.
Thank you. Very impressive. Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice job. Really impressive.
Okay, as we discussed earlier, I would like to move item number 6, personnel, up.
Where is it?
So now, so we are going to move it up. Brian,
Yes.
let's turn it back over to you again.
If I could have Eileen Eustace come forward, please. If you could just come to the front. Dave, come on in. Dave, their husband's with her also. But we've, as you may have read in the paper, we've gone out for 3 searches going back to December for our new high school principal of Berlin High School. And 3 searches is not typical. But we really wanted to make sure we had an extremely high-quality candidate. And the committee, and I can say the committee stayed relatively consistent throughout. 13 members that interviewed for several days. And going out, we just wouldn't settle. But we are not settling at all. We feel very fortunate to have an extremely qualified candidate with us this evening that will be appointed as a new Berlin High School principal. She's worked in Simsbury as an assistant principal for 8 years. She's worked in West Hartford as an assistant principal at Conard High School for 2 years. And she'll be the new principal of Berlin High School on July 1st. And we are very ecstatic to have her here. So I'd like to welcome Eileen.
Board formality here. So, with that introduction and round of applause, I will entertain a motion.
I move that the Board of Education appoint Eileen H. Eustace to the position of principal of Berlin High School effective July 1, 2018.
I second.
I have a motion from Tim, second from Julia. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
I would really, is it okay if I?
We absolutely
Thank you. I couldn't be more thrilled. This was actually really an unexpected opportunity for me. At the nudging of a friend, a colleague of mine, a very respected colleague, he said, I think you should look at that job. And as soon as I looked into the community, I was so impressed and so thrilled at what I saw, and I just really am very excited to be joining Berlin Public Schools. The community here, which is clearly like just rooted in tradition and really values education, you can just feel that. And with every step of the process, it's been a really quick whirlwind week, but it's been really exciting for me. But just every person has been so warm and welcoming, and it really validates that this is the right place for me. And really, I'm so excited that this is my first principalship. It's exactly the kind of place where I wanted to land. And really the first thing on my agenda is building relationships and getting to know people, because that's really where all of the work starts so that we can all work together. So thank you so much, everybody, for the support that you provided already, and I cannot wait to start on July 1.
So I need to welcome you, and guess what? We're going to take a brief break right now, so you get to start to meet some people. So, all right, we'll recess for a
Oh, we're doing
I think that Brian is doing some paperwork with Eileen, but I think that we can move on in the agenda, just to keep things moving. So we have committee reports. So we'll start with the report of student representatives. We don't have any this evening, so we're going to check that one off and we're going to move on. We can move to Board of Education Committee reports. We'll start with the Communication Committee. Jake, do you have anything to report relative to meetings?
Yeah, we did meet and talking about the budget and trying to get the word out in terms of the next vote. I mean, obviously we're still need to find out what the cuts are. We'll take it from there, but we are planning a meeting on Wednesday morning to address that.
Okay. Just for this purpose of this meeting, so the board knows, is out of the committee report, out of the last communications was the request for me to draft a letter that would go to the mayor. I gave that to the mayor this morning in meeting, so that he has received. He hasn't been in receipt of that letter. So
Bright and early, so.
yeah, it was bright and early this morning. Student Achievement Committee.
The Student Achievement Committee met earlier this evening and received a publication, bless you, Irish Jerkin, who discussed with us the changes to the summer reading program, which would allow for greater flexibility for readers and also have the Berlin Public Schools collaborate with the Berlin Peck Library for options. And we also discussed some textbook adoptions for I'm going to try my best to remember all of these, but American Politics for 10th through 12th grade, a new textbook, as well as whole class novels for 7th and 8th graders at the middle school. Is that pretty much some of it? 6th through 8th. Right, 6th grade. So, we adopted 4 texts.
Okay, and I see that we will have action to be taken on those later in this meeting. So, Brian's still not here, so I'm going to skip over the correspondence to the board. If he has any, I'll bring it back up after the fact. And that will take us to audience of citizens. So, with that said, audience of citizens is open. We have a whole lot of people in the audience this
Got
evening.
one, but I can wait till the end.
Is there anybody that would like to address the Board of Education? The answer is, the floor is yours, Mr. Mayor.
I just wanted to come here tonight, just spend a couple minutes with you, so you heard things maybe from the horse's mouth, because I know there's always articles in the paper, there's rumors, there's all kind of things. Matt and Brian and myself had a meeting this morning about it, just to maybe get everybody on the same page. So, just, a little bit of the history, obviously, how we get to this point. So, obviously, the budget has changed with the Board of Finance. So, it's gone to the Board of Finance. Before we got to the first referendum, and the Board of Finance adopted their budget, they sent it to the council, and we were looking at it, and many of us felt that it was too high. We wanted to make some reductions. And then kind of came up with a potential way to fund everything, and had to add a little bit extra to bonding. Really, neither side with that solution was that happy, but like I said to Matt this morning, I said if neither side's happy, that's probably a good deal, right? Everybody gave a little bit, and we thought we would fund every last thing in the budget, which included a lot of capital projects that haven't been funded over the years, and there's a lot of things we would have liked to have cleaned up. Board of Finance, in concept, agreed, but then when we had the joint meeting before the first referendum, they decided they didn't like that plan, so we were kind of back to the drawing board. And, it went out to the referendum with a 1.6 mill rate increase, 5% increase. Just a little, thought behind that. And I'll just speak for me personally. The council voted how they voted, but 5% tax increase on top of a reevaluation year, just so you know what we're looking at. There were some homeowners that their revalues went up, some went down. But businesses in particular got hit pretty hard. Some businesses were up 20% on the reval. So now we tacked another 5% on this 25% increase in some of our businesses. Not a good thing for business in Berlin. Business in Berlin has been booming. We've been doing pretty well. We have a new factory opening up mid-June. Force Machine over in Christian Lane. You've probably seen it being built. And, you know, we've had some other, the Acura dealership moved to the Turnpike, that's great. Mr. Arancini that owns the Acura dealership, he's interested, I think, in some other development there. Obviously, he's got the buildings next door for retail. I think he's maybe interested in some more things in town. We have some other people interested in different developments. So, you know, we got to be very careful with that. So that's one of the factors behind, you know, why we thought it was too high. So after that joint meeting, the feeling was, hey, send it to the voters, and that's where it went, and that's fine. It's in the charter, obviously, and we got the vote. So the vote came back, as you all know, pretty overwhelming, blow both sides. I mean, we put those questions in there because a lot of times in the past, before we had those advisory questions, you don't know. They voted it down, and what are they voting down? Town, Board of Ed, everything, nothing. So, that's why we put those in there. So it came back almost 3-1 on both sides. And I think that might have surprised maybe all of us, or a lot of us. I was surprised with that. But so now, from that, it went back to the Board of Finance. They made some reductions on the town side to the tune of, I want to say about $975,000. Those are mostly from capital projects. No reductions on the Board of Ed operational budget. So now it gets sent, back to us. We have it on the council agenda tomorrow night. We've had, we had a discussion last week. We had a special council meeting. We talked about it. We'll talk about it tomorrow night and make a decision, and it goes to the second referendum. Where we're at, it's a difficult spot to be in. Talked to these guys this morning and trying to figure out what to do. I'm sure they'll discuss it with you further. It's difficult, I think now, from what I heard from some council members and the Board of Finance, hey, send it to the voters and see what they say. And we got their message. I think their message came back pretty loud and clear. I mean, it was double the amount of people that usually come out for a referendum, 16%, 17%. Ran out of ballots at Griswold. That's how many people showed up. That's unusual. Usually it's about 8% last year, and that's typically what we get. But they sent us a message. So here we are. What do we do with that message? We have voters that have told us something, and we have to consider that. Yeah.
I just want to ask a hypothetical question, because I've been kind of thinking about this and talking to people around town as I've been seeing certain signs.
Yeah.
No? You know what we do?
Well, whatever. That's why I'm here.
You're into it now, but typically we let him
Oh,
speak.
yeah, audience of
Audience of
citizens. I'm
citizens.
sorry.
No, I don't care. Listen,
I'm thinking, okay.
Listen, no, we're here to have a discussion. That's why I came.
No.
I know, it's
Actually,
not
by-
discussion. We can ask after. I will ask after.
Whatever
That is
you want. Okay, all right. So, I mean, I'm almost done.
Matt, I am so sorry. I think
I'm almost
I
done
was just getting
anyway.
really into it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
We'll talk after.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. I mean, so, it's a tough decision now. But what do you do when the vote, listen, the voters tell you what they want, and I think we're in the position of the council that we've got to take that to heart. I don't know where that goes. I don't think any of us know where that goes yet either. We'll have some more discussion tomorrow night, and we'll have to make a decision. We've been thinking about it. That's why we had a meeting last week, and we've got to figure out what to do. But I don't know how, quite frankly, to be upfront, how we don't reduce some on the Board of Ed operations side. I don't know how we could go and just send it forward with a full budget based upon the 3-1 vote that we saw from the voters. As elected officials, I want the voters, I want their input. We should all want their input as elected officials. When we get it, my philosophy is that we should follow it within reason. We understand the votes come in, and we have to put our own opinions in there and do what's best for the town and for the Board of Ed. But it's an overwhelming vote, so we're kind of we have to consider that. And that's where it sits. And we're trying to make that very, very, very difficult decision tomorrow night. Wanted to kind of get you up to date, kind of let you know where we're kind of coming from. We had a discussion today with Matt, Brian, and where we're at. So, questions? Now's the time, not the time? whatever you
Are we
want.
allowed to or no?
Go ahead, ask your question.
Just my question is, and I, you know what, I forgot this was audience to citizens, sometimes since it's like presentation, right, and then when we have a presentation, that's kind of where I was thinking. Throughout town, typically with referendums, you see signs going both ways.
Sure.
This year, there weren't any, and I'm not affiliated with the Democratic Party, however, and I understand we're a nonpartisan board, but I only saw the axe to tax vote signs, and I thought they were a bit extreme. And if people want to put that up, they can absolutely do it. But I think as you stand here and talk, and I'm not challenging you, I'm just saying, if we don't see signs as ignorant voters, people who don't even know what referendum is, see an axe to tax sign, of course they're gonna go and vote no if they're not getting information from both sides. And I'm not saying that there has to be yes, there has to be no. Maybe the Democrats weren't supporting the budget. I have no idea, but I'm just saying, in my opinion, I feel like those signs were so big and so strong and showing one big side of the story, and I think that maybe that's why so many people went out and voted no, because they saw exactly that.
So what I would say is,
Yeah.
this actually is not the forum for that.
Okay.
That either party is well within their right to
To put
advertise.
signs, absolutely.
But we cannot. So, with that, let's just leave it at that.
Leave it at that, yeah.
I'll just reiterate what I said to Mark this morning, and that's that we put forth a very responsible budget, lowest request in probably, well, we went back 8 years, but it probably goes well before that. We didn't leave placeholders. There's nothing in the special level in case we get somebody. We talked about this morning, and that's why I am not in a position, or the board is in a position to offer an acceptable number. We did that heavy lifting up front, so we were happy that the Board of Finance moved it forward without a recommended cut. And we understand that the council and yourself are in a difficult position. But with that said, this year in particular, we tasked the new superintendent with a completely different way of looking at the budget and tearing it down and building it back up. And I think he did a very commendable job there. So
Yeah,
I'll
you know,
talk about it.
and we don't disagree. You know, the only thing I asked you is, as I discussed with Brian and Matt, was, you know, we faced this on the town side, at least the last 2 years I've gone through the town budget, and what we've done, we've had projects that were axed, and we didn't cut anything though. What, at least certainly during the last year, what we really did was we just sort of had, you know, there were some projects we needed to do, maybe some small capital projects, so, you know, a little bit different than I know some of your programs. I don't want to say any program cut, obviously. But we, you know, Doug came in and said, all right, hey, let's do this. So we kind of moved it along, and, you know, maybe some programs we saved some money on, we were able to pay for other things that got cut. So, you know, we sort of tried to work through it the best we could. That's how we got through some of the budget cuts that we, you know, made on the town side. So I figure that out as, and I know you can't always do what's in your programs, I understand that, but that's something for out there. But since it's out there, I'm gonna have to answer that question, because I have to answer. I can't just leave it hanging. The axe to tax signs, just so you know, if you notice the bottom of them, there was nothing on the bottom saying paid for by any political party. They were private signs put out by private individuals. Okay, just so you understand that, that's anybody's right to put a sign out with whatever opinion that's not, you know, hurtful or going to cause a problem in town. But those were private signs; those were not by any political party. So just so clear on the signs. But did the Republicans, myself, and the Republican majority, think the tax increases too high? Absolutely. We put out a couple signs that said "Vote No." You know, those were signs paid for by the Republican town committee, not by us, but that was our opinion, and I think the voters confirmed that opinion. That's all I just want to say about that. So anyway, that's it. I appreciate that. I just wanted to kind of give you, you know, where we're at, how we got here, and much like I discussed with Brian and today. So, you know, we'll do the best we can tomorrow night, and I look at the budget, I try to be fair, responsible, logical, try and do the best for everybody, reasonable, as very, very hard. We know what we're all facing with the state and with our own town. So we're trying to do the best we can, and we will hopefully give you the best product we can. So thank you all
Thanks,
very
Mark.
much. Appreciate it.
Is there anybody else who'd like to address the Board of Education? All right. Seeing no hands jump up, I will close audience of citizens. And we'll move on to agenda item number 7, which is the consent agenda. The only thing that's in here of interest, and we've discussed, are the 2 field trips. Just want to outline those for us, Brian, just so we can sure what they are. Upbeat.
Yeah. The first field trip here is the upbeat field trip.
I see Jack back there. Jack,
Jack, you want to talk about it?
trip. Yeah, tell us about Camp Woodstock.
The traditional, go ahead.
We always just sign the paper. Tell us about the field trip.
Okay.
Are we pulling the item out of the consent agenda then for discussion?
Consent.
It's in consent,
This is
it's,
the traditional.
I can't ask about the consent agenda.
if you want to pull the item out, we can pull the item
Yeah,
out.
they can straight regular agenda. We talk about it.
Can I have a motion to pull it on?
I'm fine with it as it is.
All right. Jack, you're off the hook.
I'll send you an email.
You want the other trip pulled out?
Nope.
A little different? Nope. You sure? No,
Yep.
That was different.
So besides me, is there anybody who wants to discuss anything in this consent agenda, take, pull out, or add to? All right, with that, I will,
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for pointing out the order.
But
I'll talk to you later, Jack.
Sounds good. Send you an email.
All right. Next up, we have new business. Facility-related updates.
I can share with you about the safety vegetables that are take place at the elementary schools as well as McGee. Doug Solek has informed me this morning that there's a $120,000 shortfall of monies that need to be acquired in order to move forward with those. The pricing is coming in higher than thought. Part of it is the time in the window. Because when the state released the funds, we're about 2 months later than expected. The price of aluminum has gone up, as well as the timeline that the construction companies have to work in. So there's, at the town council, next town council meeting, they're gonna speak about where they might be able to find the 120,000, but they cannot move forward until they know where the 120,000 is coming from in order to report on those safe vegetables.
So, just to clarify, that would put the cost of the, is it 3 vestibules or is it 4? Is it
For
including
McGee.
8? At 620,000. Right, because we
Yes.
allocated 500,000.
Right.
Okay.
And he feels it's like the time window, losing 60 days is what's really up the price. So the discussion will be with the town council to find the monies in order to achieve it. So and the quicker the monies are allocated, more likely it's going to take place prior to school starting, right? Because if it drags on for a month or so, that's a month we lose from securing a contract and everything else, and ordering of the doors and so on, which have to be custom made and stuff, so. The other thing is we're still waiting at the high school. PVC has hired a third party to look at, an engineering company to look at the ductwork while wrapping it, to really look at, is there a necessity to wrap that ductwork on the roof? I'm not quite sure when that report will be in, but there will be a report that will go to PVC about the necessity to wrap the ductwork. I can tell you that when you go into the high school and you look out through the windows, you can see the paint that was put on there already peeling off of the duct. And I know that there's been video taken of the water that's still leaking in the roof too, so we still have some construction issues at the high school. That's what I have for facilities.
Any questions?
I just have one. I know they don't know where the additional money is going to come from. Any indication from the town that there is a level of possibility to get those vestibules funded, or we just don't have?
They're waiting, it's on the discussion for next town council meeting.
Next town council.
Next town council meeting. The town didn't know where the money would come from this time, they're waiting for the councilors to determine if there is money. Because money that would be guaranteed without having a budget for next year, they couldn't guarantee it. Not sure what kind of funds are available at this time to make sure that.
While we're in facilities, the elementary study, was it?
There's a survey that's set to go out. It's a hard copy survey. The company felt that a hard copy survey, just for one page, would get more feedback than something that's a Google survey or something that's digital. So that survey should be set to go by tomorrow. I spoke to the gentleman today, posing the questions. They've met at each of the elementary schools with administrators and staff, just to get some feedback and some questions answered. They'll look at the schools, the physical structure of the schools, so things are moving forward.
Any other questions regarding facilities?
That survey is going out to who?
Sure, it'll go out to all the parents. In all three elementary schools, I want to do all three.
Brian, if you could just remind the board, the estimates that were done in the vestibules, I'm back to vestibules again, sorry.
Yep.
The estimates that were done on the construction of the vestibules, was that provided by a professional firm, or was that?
There was partially with the grant that was done on those, and then they actually had construction companies in and give bids on those. And what happened is the lead time between when they originally did the bids to now, the prices changed.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm wondering who gave us the $500,000 estimate.
I want to say Fry.
They're the ones, yeah, they're the ones
Yeah, I
that
think they
did the design of the
I think it was Fry.
It would be Fire.
Fire. Yep, I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay.
I don't have more than that.
That's what normally happens. That's
Yeah,
what normally
I don't have
happens.
more than that, Jeff, just
Yep.
without the business manager.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else about facilities? We will move on to item B under new business, the 2018-2019 Board of Education operating budget. So just had a little bit of an exchange with the mayor. You can do the update, I can do the update, wherever we want to do it. So, as you all now know, that the Board of Finance moved the operational budget to the town council with no cuts to the budget. It went straight forward, acknowledging what the vote was, but still recognizing the budget that was put forward was editorial here, a well put together budget, and they moved forward without any reductions. I know that at the meeting that I attended last week, a number of items on the capital side were cut. If you ask me specifically what they are, I don't remember all of them. I know that items such as the cage build out, some electrical work.
That's the cages at the
High school. Phones at the two elementary schools. Actually, phones across the board, if I'm not correct.
Phones across the board.
Across the board were cut.
Which is the elementary's McGee.
Right. Those items I know specifically were taken out. I don't know where we are with the vans. But I know that the Board of Finance has taken a hard look at that, and there were some items that came out of our capital side that has moved on to the council. The council met last Tuesday to discuss the budget. I wasn't at that. This morning, Brian and I met with the mayor. He was, I think, hoping that we would say that there's a number that we would be comfortable with on a reduction, and as you already heard me say, I already outlined that we've already put forth and done the heavy lifting. At this point, there is no number that we are comfortable with, and unfortunately, I'm pushing it back to them to make that decision. I did issue a letter to the mayor this morning that essentially said that we put together a 1.99% budget increase request that the superintendent has already taken out over $1 million out of the operating budget up front. And that, further reductions, we ask that they honor it as is, further reductions would impact programs and services. We did provide a list, an area where we would be looking at the first places we would be looking at those items, but that none of them were definitive, and we would have to know what the magnitude of any budget reduction would look like. Frankly, strategically, that was to put that right up front so that later on somebody can't say to us, you didn't tell us. So council meets tomorrow night. They have a decision to make relative to what the reduction is. I would expect we are going to get a reduction. I can't speculate as to how much. So that's kind of where the budget situation is now. So you all worked, hours and hours and hours on the budget. We all did that together. So you know that there's just not room in it. We didn't leave room in the budget, specifically understanding the financial and economic situation of both the state and what the town is asking for. So.
And did you have any indication whether the mayor was going to share the letter, or did the letter go to anybody else other than him?
I specifically gave the letter to him, and then I had the letter emailed to each of the council members only.
I'm sorry. If they come back, the town council comes back with a number, we're going to be cut. When are we going to have the opportunity, or are we going to have the opportunity as a whole board to discuss what that number actually translates into for the people and services that you're talking about that you have your list?
So, how do I want to answer this question? Ultimately, that would become a special meeting to have that conversation. I don't think because our next board meeting is after the next referendum, right? May 22nd is the next referendum, so we would have to meet in advance of that to have those conversations and to talk about how we would get information out. And there is, the mayor asked us this morning, honestly, he said if there's a cut, we ask you not to cut any program, just manage the shortfall. That was his request of the board. That's a whole lot easier to say when you have a balance fund on the town side, where if you have a shortfall, you have something to pull from. We don't have a balance fund. Our dollars are allocated specifically to programs.
Every salary gets reduced by $150 or something.
Right.
I'm sure that'll go over wonderfully.
It's a difficult, it's a difficult position. I know the communications committee talked about having, kind of a public forum once the results are out. I would say I'm in agreement with that. I'm speaking just as me as a personal board member at this. I'm in agreement with that based on what the reduction number is. Right? If they come back with a $10,000 budget reduction because they have to do something, which is not realistic, it's not what's going to happen, then I can say to the mayor, yes, we can manage $10,000. But anything greater than that, it's going to have impact on things that we have put forth as ways to move forward. Yeah, that's good.
Can you remind the board when is let's say that if there were to be a cut, unfortunately, okay? When do we actually have to approve, publicly debate in, board level, but approve what actual cuts take place?
Well, the reality is we don't.
Right.
The reality is we don't. What we decide is how we will handle the appropriation, right? Are we going to move forward with, because it's not a position today, but we've talked about it in the future, is do we move forward with the safety coordinator position for our schools, right? So that has a dollar value to it. So those are the decisions we make. We may choose to, not choose to, but ultimately we don't have to. That's,
So depending on the magnitude, if there is a cut, depending on the magnitude of it, we could let it run for a little while until we decide how we're gonna do things, or if it's something other than that, we would decide now.
we could,
Okay.
we could. So,
Can I ask a clarification on the process?
sure.
The mayor has stated there's an intention based on the vote that we're going to cut something, theoretically. It goes back to referendum with this new cut included. If it passes, it's a done deal. If it fails, it goes back to the town council again, where they get to just simply make a decision, and there's no more referendums, correct?
Yes.
They just get a
There's
final
only
say.
2 referendums.
Right, so if it fails again a second time, then it simply is up to them to set the budget as they see fit.
Correct. Correct. So, here we are mid-May, right, May 14th, precarious situation with budget, you're losing. So, we'll see what tomorrow brings, I guess is the best way to put it. We sit and wait. Questions?
Is there actually one more? Is there anything on the ECS side of things? Have we heard anything from the state as far as anticipated funds for next year being different from this year?
I've not heard anything.
Okay. I know they've been talking budget. I didn't know if any numbers had come out.
No numbers have come to my mind.
Okay.
All right. Lori, you're on.
Lori Jerpin, our district literacy and social studies director, presenting on 2 topics. One would be the textbook adoption, and the other would be our summer reading program.
Thank you. So we'll start with summer reading. As I mentioned at our meeting earlier, we really took a look at surveys that parents had filled out previously. We also talked to a lot of students, especially at the high school level, to find out what were difficulties and what were things that students liked about the summer reading program. So the form that you have in front of you, it's color-coded, is the outcome of those conversations and those surveys. So the expectation in kindergarten through grade 5, or actually all the way through 12, is that students are reading. We just want everyone reading. One of the biggest obstacles especially at the elementary level, was the logging of minutes read, books read, and whether it was online or whether it was in a calendar or however it was, that was the biggest obstacle that parents identified to us as being difficult. So we're just saying we want you to read. And K-5, 30 minutes a day, read or be read to. To support that, the schools are going to have special reading kickoffs. They're going to be working with Peck's Library. The librarians will come over. Students will create a summer reading plan. It might be, I'm going to try to read more biographies because that's not something that I tend to read a lot of. It might be, I like to read outside, so that's what I'm going to read. So just to get kids thinking about what that might look like over the summer. They will be reminded how to access online resources so that if they if they do have accessibility to computers, they can go on and read books either through Peck Library or through our school systems and read their ebooks through that. And all students in K through 5 will go home with books to read over the summertime. And so everyone will have something that they want, and they generally choose their books that they're going to read over the summer. During the summertime, some of the supports that will be in place is this year Hubbard School will be hosting the annual K-8 book fair, and it's in July, the end of July, the 25th and 26th. Peck Library will be given, for K-5, they'll be given little beads to kids, so when the students go in, they say, I read some books, they'll give them beads, they can put it on a necklace or a keychain, and it's had a lot of success in other towns. PEC is also hosting various activities during the summertime, and teachers in the Berlin Public Schools have volunteered their time to run some of these activities, and we're looking forward to that. They really focused all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade to really engage students. The purpose of that is to get them into the library so students take out more books and read more. So that's the continuing theme. Students entering grades 6 through 8 should be reading 2 books during the summertime. McGee is inviting 5th graders to an author, so students who are presently in grades 5 through 8 will get a chance to meet Caitlin Alfranca, who wrote I Will Always Write Back. The teachers have been working a lot with their students on that. And current 6th and 7th graders can check out 2 books from the McGee Library for the summer if they choose to do so. And during one of their September advisories, they will meet as a group and celebrate their reading. Again, they'll have access during the summertime to the summer book fair. PEC will host a team summer challenge, and that will be little scratch-offs for them to receive when they're reading. And they'll also have summer activities that are geared toward middle school students. And then in grades 9 through 12, that's where a lot of feedback came in from the students. They're not afraid to tell you what they like and what they don't like at the high school level. So they told us that they've been reading the same books or submitting the same book year after year after year. And that doesn't help anyone. Certainly not us, certainly not them. So we said, well, what could you do? They said, well, if we could count the books that we have to read for our AP classes, if we could do something, you know, we're 11th graders and we're constantly going on all of our college visits, could we do something that involves that? So we said, all right, so how about if we read 1 book and then we do some type of learning activity? And it might be something that I just mentioned, or a volunteer experience that they have, or watching a TED Talk and reflecting on it, something along that line, and reflecting and sharing your reflections. And then they'll celebrate that in a September advisory as well. If a student chooses to read 2 books, that's fine too. So either way works out. They're also going to be using on Instagram and Twitter the hashtags Berlin Reads and hashtag Berlin Learns, so that they can see. One of the things that they said, you know, I don't know, none of you adults have to do any reading during the summer. And we all got a big chuckle out of that. So we said, oh, we're going to be seeing who tweets more this summer. And so hopefully we'll be able to get everyone on board with that. And as I mentioned, PEC will also be hosting activities for them. We also have some high schoolers and some middle schoolers who will be volunteering at the PEC library. They'll be working with the students, so as they come in to get their beads, they'll be handing out the beads. We also have some tech experts who will be working, volunteering at the library, and there'll be a community member comes in and says, I'm not sure how to do this on my iPad. Can you show me how to back up my computer? Those types of things, they'll be able to work through that with the community members. So we have some exciting things planned for summer reading. We'll be posting everything online as a showcase item during the summer.
Excellent.
Questions about that?
Yeah, I just have, from your standpoint, as obviously our expert, and for the parents that may be watching, how important is the summer reading for our children? Because what I'm hearing is that there's not really any effective way to police it or make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. So again,
Obviously extremely important. Students from grades 3 and higher should be reading at least 25 books during a year. So when you think about that, what we're asking them to do during the summer is small, but it's that looking at vocabulary. We often talk about the summer slide, which is just one piece of it, but especially at the lower grade levels, if students don't read, what we find is if they leave at a level J, they may come back at a level F, and then it's catching kids up. And so we can certainly do that but it doesn't give them that option. If students continue to read, they maintain their skills, and that's what's important.
So we have to impress on the parents also that it is their job, whether policed or not by the Board of Education or the administrators or the teachers, that they need to make sure that this happens.
Right. And that's something that we heard in the survey as well. You know, it's summertime, I want my child to have fun during the summer. Well, I counter with, I think reading can be a lot of fun. and I don't think one means you can't do the other. Right? You can still read and go to the pool.
Plenty of time in the summer.
That's right. So we have to do that.
Any other questions for Lori? All right, we'll roll you right into the next one.
Excellent. Okay, the next thing we have several books that are coming forward for approval. The first one is American Politics Today. And so this is used with an AP US government course. So it's pretty straightforward in that the course has changed, the assessments have changed, and because of that, then that means that the book will have to change as well. The teacher and the department head looked at 2 different books. This one was aligned better with standards, had better graphics in it, and was more appealing to students. And so that's why they went with this one. And when they looked at the other one, they really felt like it didn't meet the bill, so to speak.
Yes, thank you.
I say if you read that, you're gonna solve that's Any questions about that?
And this is for what class?
US government, AP government course. So it's not the only resource that they use, but it is a main resource that they use.
Next. Moving right along.
Happy to. The other thing that we're doing at the middle school is with our workshop curriculum, we are doing a few whole class novels. So the purpose of that is generally we want students reading their own books of their own choice with, it might be in a small group or it might be independently that they're doing that reading. What we're trying to do with this is really set the expectations for students. So it's much easier to get a student to understand what a job might look like if you're all using the same text. It's also easier to build a sense of classroom community. When you see a student only one period during the day, it becomes more difficult to build that classroom community. So that's the purpose of this. Kate Roberts wrote this book, Novel Approach, and it just came out this spring, I believe, and all of the teachers have a copy of this book, and it talks about how to really approach not just the planning, but the implementation of the whole class novel. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers, Kate and Maggie Roberts will be working with us next year at the middle school, so they'll help drive what we're going to be doing. But the 6th grade teachers chose A Long Walk to Water as their whole class novel. They're all wonderful books and they're all really engaging for students. The Schwab's Here and Forget Me Not are 7th grade choices, and they wanted more options to be able to do it. And then the last one is for 8th grade, and that's Ghost. Any questions about those?
Can I ask a really basic question on those? This may be an ignorant question. There must be 1,000 of these kind of books out there. How do you decide which 5 you're going to buy, or which ones you want to recommend?
So they really did a nice job because they worked with the students as well. So they asked students what their favorite books were, they did a survey of what they were doing. Then they spent hours looking at reviews, Amazon reviews, Goodreads, and they went through all of those different pieces. And then sometimes it's, what else are we trying to teach students? So A Long Walk to Water it talks a lot about, I guess, humanity. You know, so it really teaches that whole other piece to it. So it has a whole other aspect. So we're trying to teach students through that Bennett-Kallig and all those different habits of mind. So that's another way to do it.
If I could follow, and is this a committee that does this?
The teachers at the middle school.
Okay. So they all get concerned.
Oh, this wasn't an easy one.
No, I'm.
It was fun.
I know, I would like to say, reading through the adoption forms, the thoroughness with which those people who participated in that is commendable.
Thank you.
So please share that with them. And to see them look at the books that they didn't like and tell the form and the committee why they didn't like those books versus why they chose these books was definitely a good thing to see. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I like this one, we're done.
Oh, no.
There was certainly more than
So thank you for
one
recognizing that.
review. And that Long Walk to Water book with the two perspectives looks like it's going to blow some kids' minds.
And it actually connects well with the book that Caitlin Alfranca is going to come and talk with them about on May 30th. So hopefully they'll make that connection.
I'm sure there's no way that we can mandate and make sure these kids read these books?
Well, they'll read these because this will be during the year.
These? Okay, I'm sorry, I was reading.
So these
I was falling back to
summer ones?
reading.
Yeah, I wish they weren't.
Well, there's some level of involvement in the fall semester, right? The first couple months where the kids have to do something with their summer reading books. So there's a responsibility that if they don't put together a good paper or whatever the response is, they'll get a 4 grade on that and probably be reflective of the fact that they didn't read a book.
Rich, would you like to keep that book from us?
Sorry, I was reading about our last election.
The index section on Trump is about 4 inches long.
Yes.
Any questions for Lori? So then with that, I'll entertain a motion on adoption of textbooks. Yeah, I know it's long, so there's no volunteer.
I move to
There you
adopt
go.
the textbooks, The Schwab Year by Neil Schusterman. I'm going to read this whole thing wrong. And published by Huffin Books, copyright 2006. Why are you laughing at me?
Keep going.
A Long Walk to Water by Linda Sue Park, published by Clarion Books, copyright 2010. Ghost by Jason Reynolds, and published by Athenaeum, Caitlin Dooley Books, copyright 2016. Forget Me Not by Ellie Terry, and published by Philo and Friends, copyright 2017. And American Politics Today by Blanco and Cannon, and published by W.W. Norton and Company, copyright 2017.
Motion by Julia. Julia, you've earned a cookie. Second by Carrie. Any discussion on the books?
I don't know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay. We will now move to E, teacher work days after last day of school for students.
This is my book.
Brian?
It was brought to my attention by Elise and Matt, the union president, where we've had the option of switching. The last day of students is a shortened day for students, but we'd like, instead of having that be a shortened day for staff, we'd like to make that a full day. And then the last day of school, which is the Monday the 25th, would be an early release day for staff. So allowing the staff day to be their last day versus the student day to be a short day for staff.
So if I understand this right now, June 20th is a half day for staff.
Usually that's for our students.
Currently.
For staff as well.
And Monday, June 25th is a full day.
Would be that.
And you're just asking us to flip them so that you guys can have a half day on the Monday, to full day.
So the student day would remain the same as a half day, the proposal
Yes.
is,
Yes.
but then
But the teachers would stay for the full
continue
day.
to work, yeah.
Did the teachers get to pick which half?
Always the
They want to
idea.
get us no time.
So, seems like a reasonable request. Any discussion on making this change? Brian, any objection?
No, I think that's totally fine to make that change. I think it's appropriate.
All right, well, then with that said, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to revise the teacher workdays on June 20th and 25th, 2018. Okay, this is interesting. June 20th, 2018 will be a full day, and June 25th, 2018 will be a half day, I should say, for teachers, right, for staff.
So, I have a motion by Carrie,
Second.
second by Rich. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we actually have discussion with our legal counsel. This would be an executive session. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session. We need to invite Brian and our attorney, Rich.
I didn't see him.
Yes.
He's coming in a booth this morning.
So, so we
Move to go into executive session to discuss attorney-client privilege communications regarding legal rights and authority concerning budgetary matters and referendum issues, inviting the superintendent and legal counsel with the full board.
I have one by Tim. I'm looking for a second. Second by Jake. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're in executive session at 8:45.